You booked your flight, you packed light, and now at the gate someone's telling you your bag doesn't qualify. That's a $100 fee to bring it on board. Or worse, you're stuck checking it in at the last minute. Doesn't matter that you've flown the same airline with the same bag 10 times before. Welcome to flying today. Airlines are cracking down on carry-on rules. Size, weight, how many bags you've got, even when you're allowed to bring them on board. So in this video, I'll break down what's going down with the carry-on crackdown, what's actually changed, what hasn't, and what you can still get away with. So let's start with what I see catching the most people off guard. Baggage size rules. Technically, most full-service airlines allow a carry-on bag of at least 22 by 14 by 9 inches, which is 56 by 36 by 23 centimeters. Keep in mind that includes the wheels and handles of whatever carry-on bag you're using. But for years, carry-on size rules were very loosely enforced. Bag sizers at the airport mostly sat untouched, and unless your bag was obviously oversized, you'd probably just get waved through. That's not the case anymore. Airlines are now using those bag sizers at the gate more than ever. More and more, I've been seeing gate agents ask people to test fit their suitcases. If it doesn't slide into the sizer smoothly, there's a good chance you're checking it in and paying for it. Of course, low-cost carriers like Spirit, Frontier, Wizz Air, or Ryanair have always been stricter, but now even legacy airlines are joining in. Think Delta, Lufthansa, Singapore Airlines, all those kinds of full-service airlines. The motivation is really simple. They're making billions of dollars off these fees. But it's not just about size anymore either. Weight is also being enforced, especially on international flights. Just like size limits, many airlines have had published carry-on weight limits for a long time. It's just in most of the world, they were rarely enforced outside of very obvious cases. Now at a near global level, airlines from Emirates to ANA, Hawaiian to Air France have started enforcing weight restrictions on carry-ons too. And we're really not talking about much. Sometimes just 7 to 10 kilos, which is 15 to 22 pounds. Always consider how much what you're carrying weighs. That includes your tech gear, your bag itself, and anything you've crammed into the side pockets. Even a water bottle will be included in the weight if it's in your bag. And a word of warning, often that published weight limit will be for the combined weight of your carry-on bag and your personal item. If you get flagged at check-in or boarding and your bag is too heavy, you might get lucky and be able to take out some clothes and put them on or something. But these days, the chances are highest that to be allowed to board, you'll have to pay a last-minute fee. So double checking your airline's weight and size requirements is really a must before you fly. And here's where things are getting even more high-tech. The Lufthansa Group have started testing automated systems at the gate that use AI-powered cameras to scan passengers and detect how many bags they're carrying, how big they are, and even if a jacket or laptop bag counts as a third item. It's not science fiction anymore. That means there's no longer any human judgment involved. So if AI flags your gear, you will be stopped. So whether it's a backpack that's a little too bulky or a roller suitcase that's a little over the limit, the time to gamble with your carry-on is officially coming to an end. And speaking of things that can make or break your trip, let's talk about how the sponsor of today's video, Airalo, can help you stay connected while traveling. Roaming fees can be outrageous, and standing in a long line at a SIM card counter is absolutely no fun. And what if the airport Wi-Fi doesn't actually work? You can avoid all of these problems by using an Airalo eSIM. Airalo is an app where you can buy eSIMs with coverage all around the world, and plans start at under $5. Just visiting one country? How about a few countries in one region? Or maybe you're like me and sometimes visit a dozen or so countries in a month. Airalo's got you covered. They have plans for over 200 countries and regions. In fact, just next week, I'll be heading off on a trip flying all the way around the world and stopping at a bunch of different countries. Having the right eSIM makes all the difference on a trip like that when it comes to staying connected seamlessly without breaking the bank. From the moment you arrive with an Airalo eSIM, you can already be connected. Imagine needing to order an Uber or a taxi, check hotel details, or just message family that you arrived safely. Your Airalo eSIM means you can do all that without the hassle of hunting for a SIM card kiosk or paying outrageous roaming fees. Install Airalo free today so you can stay connected wherever you travel and use my code DAVIDG to get $3 off your first eSIM. So to save time, money, and avoid stress, get your Airalo eSIM today. And with that sorted, let's get back to baggage rules, because unfortunately, airlines aren't making things nearly this easy. And it's not just about what you bring, but also how much. I find this one trips people up a lot. The quantity rules. Most airlines have pretty much always said you can bring one carry-on and one personal item. That's nothing new, and it's the same around the world for the most part. But what is new is how strictly they're going about counting your items. Your medium-sized backpack is probably counted as a personal item. A carry-on roller suitcase is a carry-on. But what about a jacket, a camera, a bag of snacks you picked up along the way? All of those things are now being treated as separate items. I've seen people denied boarding until they repack to fit a tiny second personal item into their carry-on. Lately, there's also been lots of reports about various things being counted as a second personal item. A jacket not being worn, a camera in your hand, or even a water bottle. Now, of course, on a lot of budget airlines, gate agents actually receive commission to catch you breaking the baggage rules. But even on full-service airlines that don't make their employees double up as bounty hunters, the situation is clear. Airline employees are being told to step up carry-on enforcement en masse. The best move these days is to consolidate everything before you board and make sure you're following all of the airline's baggage rules. If you have anything on you that's not inside of the bags that you're officially allowed to take, expect it to be counted against you. If you're unlucky, it will mean paying a hefty fee. And at best, it'll mean the hassle of having to pull off to the side of the boarding line to repack while everyone else rolls on through. But the whole situation becomes a lot more brutal when you're flying on a basic economy fare or flying on a budget airline. In the past, booking the cheapest fare meant you boarded later or couldn't pick your seat. Now on a lot of airlines, it means you can't even bring a full-sized carry-on. If we were only talking about budget airlines, this wouldn't come as a huge surprise. But now some airlines like United only include a personal item in their basic economy fares. That means if you want to bring your roller suitcase or 40-liter backpack, that's extra. Usually somewhere between $30 and $70 one way. And again, if you show up at the gate and they determine that your bag's too big or too heavy, well, you get to pay even more. And the whole thing can get messier if your trip involves multiple airlines. You might book a flight through one airline but actually fly on another. And they might have different baggage rules. Say you booked a ticket through American Airlines, but one flight is flown on American while the other is actually flown on British Airways. Well, those airlines have two different sets of carry-on rules. British Airways allows a slightly larger carry-on bag than American Airlines. For British Airways, it's 56 by 45 by 25 centimeters or 22 by 18 by 10 inches. For American, it's 22 by 14 by 9 inches or 56 by 36 by 23 centimeters. And American Airlines' personal item allowance is also smaller than British Airways. But British Airways has a carry-on weight limit of 23 kilograms, while American Airlines doesn't have a weight limit at all. So British Airways could get you on that too. The key is to always pack based on the strictest airline on your itinerary. Not necessarily the airline you booked with, the one that will actually be flying the plane. By the way, you might sometimes hear people referring to this as the metal you're flying on, especially airline employees. So if you booked on the American Airlines website but you're flying on British Airways, then you're flying on British Airways metal. But there is still one carry-on trick that can take the stress out of getting your baggage on board. A common airline practice around the world when flights are full is to require some passengers to gate check their full-sized carry-on bags. But you can generally volunteer for this too, assuming you've got a rule-compliant carry-on bag, of course. This is different from checking a bag at the check-in counter. Your bag is tagged at the gate and either handed back on the jet bridge when you land or sent with all the other checked luggage to baggage claim. It's fast and it's free, and it helps you get through boarding without dealing with the overhead bin Olympics. Seriously, talking to travelers all the time, I find that a lot of the anxiety around flying is actually connected to getting a bag in the overhead bin. If that's the case for you, this might be a great go-to hack. But keep in mind, gate checking is only a courtesy and not a right. If the flight isn't that full, they might not offer that option. And if you do gate check a bag, always make sure you keep valuables, electronics, and anything you need for the flight on you. This might sound obvious, but when you're doing last-minute rushed consolidation at the gate, it can be easy to forget to take out your laptop. And probably a good thing to keep in mind, if you're gate checking, you're even more visible to airline employees, as in, it's more likely that you'd be called out for having an extra personal item or oversized bag. That is, if you're not dealing with Lufthansa's AI cameras. And while we're talking about what's in your bag, there's one more thing you really need to be aware of these days. Your electronics with batteries, especially power banks. Both airports and airlines are now flagging power banks that are either too big, usually over 20,000 milliamp hours, or don't even have a clear label showing watt-hour capacity. If they can't verify it's within their rules, they'll probably confiscate it. And never pack your power bank in a check bag. That's against airline regulations in most countries now. It must go in your carry-on item. No exceptions, not even for a gate-checked carry-on bag. So if you're traveling with a power bank, make sure to pick one that's clearly labeled, generally airline safe, and easy to grab during security screening. After a number of incidents, there's heightened alert about power banks these days. So if you're traveling with one, just plan for it to be checked in detail. But the bigger picture here is this. Airlines are making billions off baggage fees, and now they're in part counting on confusion and last-minute panic to keep that number growing. But once you know the rules, have the right setup, and avoid that "it worked last time" logic, you can avoid most of these fees completely. The carry-on crackdown doesn't have to keep you down. And if you want to see these rules in action, I frequently review the flights I take around the world and almost always travel with only a carry-on. So to get more hands-on, check out some of my flight review videos. Hit like if this helped you dodge a baggage fee, and subscribe for real flight tips and travel videos from someone who's actually traveling all the time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.